Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the offices of the Forces Pension Society, and behind you you can see the many cover pictures of Pennant, and we're delighted to bring you this next issue of Digital Pennant. Thank you for your kind comments on the last Pennant. Some of you didn't much care for the map at the front. The historians amongst you thought it was pretty inaccurate. We thought it looked nice, it was pretty, it was a good front cover, so that's why we used it. One or two of you asked us not to delve too much into the First World War, and I promise you we will take subjects which other people don't carry. So this time we've got a very good German view, The Eternal Villain by Dr. Matthias Stron from the Sandhurst history staff, explaining the German view of the First World War, why the Germans did what they did, and we're skating around modern day relationships, so we're a bit careful with the First World War, but we will carry on bringing you those articles that other people won't bring you. We've been very much taken up with campaigning for widows' pensions for life. That is the rescinding of the rules whereby widows who cohabit or remarry lose their pensions. And they will lose their pensions for the next 40 years, and we don't think that's right. So when you get your digital pennant, look for these pages which are red banded, and that will tell you how you can help us. In broad terms, if you can write to a politician of your knowledge and bring his or her attention to the early day motion, that will be helping us enormously. We think the government will see sense, but we'll take this up to the wire of the general election if they won't listen to reason and understand that this is a key part of the Armed Forces Covenant. The Covenant can't be a pick or mix affair, it's got to apply across the board, and it's got to apply to pensions as well. Talking of the election, we have a very good article from Populous to talk about voting patterns, and you can see how seeming randomness in voting patterns actually has a very clear trend, and that will continue. We'll continue to keep up our interest in how Populous are registering opinion up to the next general election. And there's an interview with Nigel Farage. You may not agree with his politics, I may not agree with his politics, but he is a very engaging person. And we had a good interview and a good chat. He is a nightmare to interview because a simple question gets a very long machine gun answer, pell-mell into it, but he's a nice bloke. And I only regret that he wouldn't meet me in the Boot and Flogger, because I thought that that would be just the right place, but you read that interview and I think you'll find it's very good. Now, have you flown around in helicopters at all? Well, Georgina Hunter-Jones will tell you that it's much safer to have a female pilot than a male in front. So if you ever have the choice, choose the girls, chaps, and make sure that you arrive there safely. Let me show you the front cover, because this is our withdrawal from Afghanistan. There are some good stories to tell, and this is the Afghan National Army working with Afghan surgeons to save Afghan soldiers' lives. This is a good story out of Afghanistan, and at a time when there is a lot of soul searching over our operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, I think it's only right to say how much has been achieved, and we want to be part of that story. Our new Assistant General Secretary, Hugo Fletcher, has been out round Vauxhall and writes for you on what an interesting area Vauxhall is, while our former Assistant General Secretary, Phil Wilkinson, tells us about a Russian way with victory, how the Russians revere their veterans and how they treat them, both in this country, where there are Russian war memorials, and in Russia. And I hope you'll find that's an interesting insight into Russian life at a time when, once again, our relationships with Russia are under tension. Elsewhere, we bring you some good financial articles. We do an analysis of the budget, and there is something for everybody, old, young, middle-aged, sandwich generation. Pay attention to the last budget, because Anthony Harding will point to you what you can do about various things. As always, we've got some charities to interest you. We've got the Brook, who deal in equine welfare, horses, donkeys, mainly in the Middle East. And unless you object, we're going to write to some of you and ask you to support them on the basis of that article. I hope that you will allow us to do that. We've got amusement for you in Commander Roger Payne, as always, one of our most prolific writers. So we bring you lots of colour with Digital Pennant. The cover, of course, I mentioned. We have Georgina's goddaughter flying a very large red helicopter on the North Sea. We have the military knights of Windsor in their bright red jackets parading for the Queen. And we have well drillers drilling for water in Sierra Leone, very much the sign of future so-called upstream defence activity. I think you'll enjoy it, and I think if you've got the right technology, the colour will come out in full on your eye stuff. Thank you very much.